Hi, I'm Faith McCann, and I've been a witch for over 40 years. And no, we are not evil. Learn more about the magical world and how the magical world affects your world right here on The Magical Alternative. And you don't have to be a witch to watch. And hello, magical ones. Welcome to The Magical Alternative. I'm your host, Faith McCann. And hello, crew. Welcome to the new members of the crew. We've got a few of them, and I'm so excited about that. The more, the merrier. And our band is back. Welcome back to November Sound. And yeah, we missed you guys. How have you been?
Oh, good. We missed you too.
Yeah. Well, it's good to see you both. And what do you have coming up in the month of June?
Well, we have a lot of different things in June, but I'll just say a couple things. So on Friday, June 5th, we're playing at the Lebanon Oxen Oak Vineyard. It's in Lebanon, Connecticut.
Nice.
It's a beautiful little vineyard. So if you're able to drive out there, we're playing from 5 to 7 p.m. that night.
Oh, nice.
It's definitely worth the drive. And they have food, too, if you don't want to drink the wine. So that's June 5th.
Oh, nice.
And so on June 12th, it's a big day for Bill and I. It's our 27th wedding anniversary.
Woo! 27 years.
Yeah.
That's great.
So I'm so excited for that. We have other things, but you can always just go and check our Facebook page or our website on November Sound Music.
We'll put that right here.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, great.
It's so great to be here again.
Yeah, it's great to have you. This month of June, we are celebrating a lot. We've got Pride, Happy Father's Day, and we're going to talk about the magic found in everyday things. Our in-studio guest tonight is attorney Paul Rubin, who'll be talking to us about our state's probate court system and how it helps so many long before anyone dies, which is kind of exciting. So I'm going to learn a little bit, too, about that. Our favorite rabbi duo, Dr. Jeremy Weiss and Rabbi David McLashley from the Temple of Miriam, the prophetess, is going to be talking to us about amulets and talismans. Ooh. Now, to get on with our monologue. Recently, you may have heard of the White House Correspondents' Dinner held at the Hilton in Washington, D.C. just last month. Nope, not discussing politics. You know that we don't like to get bogged down in all of that. For those who are not familiar, really quickly, the White House Correspondents' Dinner is an annual event, a fundraising dinner where journalists of the free press from all over America with their plus ones are invited for a very fancy dinner. There's entertainment, awards are presented to the very best in journalism, prominent people from the entertainment industry, television, news media, Washington elite, and other notable influencers are present. I did check. Neither Punch the Monkey nor myself received our invitations for this year, but we're holding out hope for next year, me and Punch. We're going to get all dressed up in fancy dress, and hopefully we're going to go. The reason I bring this up is you might have heard about a kerfluffle regarding the Correspondents' Dinner. At the beginning of it, there was a bit of a dust-up. Thankfully, no one was seriously injured or worse, but we're here to bring you some behind-the-scenes stories about that night we thought were fascinating and heartwarming, at least funny. Let's talk first about the burrata salad incident. Yes, you see, with 2,600 people in attendance, all dressed up, waiting for dinner, and a show of sorts, well, out in front, in the front lobby outside of the ballroom, gunshots rang out. Well, thankfully, no one was injured, but while quick thinking, Secret Service and security rapidly contained the threat, inside the International Ballroom where the event was taking place, the important people on the dais were being removed to a safer location. The rest of the guests were diving under tables, as sadly so many have been taught to do in our country since grade school. Well, except for this man, Michael Glantz. He is considered a super agent with Creative Artists Agency, and he represents a lot of notable people in the Washington, D.C. area, including CNN's Wolf Blitzer. Now, if you can see in this picture in the lower left corner, he didn't get on the floor. When interviewed afterwards, he said, one, he had a bad back. Two, he's from New York City and he's used to scary situations. He didn't relish the idea of getting onto the floor, as he's a self-described hygiene freak. And more importantly, he wanted to see everything that was going on. So he sat back in his chair, relaxed, ate the salad, and watched the commotion. As I saw this, I wanted to know, what kind of salad was that? Well, it was a burrata salad. And if you don't know what that is, let me describe it to you. Here's a picture of a burrata salad. It starts first with a bed of crisp, tender lettuce greens. It's covered with fresh tomatoes, either cherry or heirloom. Then we put a little bit of basil, fresh basil, avocados, onions. You can put other vegetables. And then they commonly add some arugula, some homemade croutons, salt, pepper. You can put garlic and other spices. They dress it with extra virgin olive oil and a vinaigrette balsamic glaze, and then placed on top of the whole thing are these amazing classic burrata mozzarella cheese balls, which are super tender and very delicious, and you're either served with the whole balls of mozzarella burrata cheese or they're sliced open. And it's an amazing looking salad. So I don't blame him for sitting there and wanting to have his salad, because he wasn't going to be getting the rest of his meal. So I find Mr. Glantz a very, very brave individual. The second story, which I think is kind of interesting, as you can see here, this woman is what I would call a modern day urban survivalist. This picture shows a woman as they were being ushered out saying, okay, let me describe the scene. $300 a plate. Everyone is being told, you got to get out. There's been something that happened. No dinner is being served. You have to leave now. So yes, the video caught her leaving, but taking a few full bottles of champagne with her. She doesn't know what was outside. She was going out prepared. Plus, she didn't get her dinner. I want this woman on my zombie bus. If you know, you know. Now for the best story of a behind-the-scenes story that night. I was talking to my dad about this event. We talk every single night if we can. He's 91, and that puts him back to being born right at the beginning of the Great Depression in this country. He asked a very important question. What happened to the 2,600 dinners? Well, back in a previous life, I was a professionally trained culinary arts banquet chef. And I know when he asked that question, I started thinking back. As soon as those salads were out on the dining table, all of those dinners were plated up and ready to go. Now let me explain. 2,600 meals, hot meals, steak and lobster. That is a massive, organized, practically a military campaign to do efficiently and timely so everyone gets their food out and it's hot. I think the most I ever did in my professional career as a chef was 1,800 meals in a day. So 2,600, that's pretty impressive. So when everything came to a screeching halt, I told my father, excellent question. So I went into daughter detective mode. And I said I was gonna suss out the real behind-the-scenes answers. So this Hilton in Washington, D.C., because it has such large banquet capacity, has in the past had dinners, banquets, even weddings canceled at the last minute, which is kind of sad. So they did what has become the normal backup plan for this hotel. While the guests were eventually allowed to leave, the kitchen went into overdrive and they cryovac or shrink wrapped all of those steak and lobster dinners. Then they were flash frozen. They were distributed the very next day to 2 shelters for women and children victims of domestic abuse. I thought that was a very, very awesome story. So bon appetit, ladies and kids. And good for you, Washington Hilton. Now we're going to go into the magic of everyday things. Firstly, the magic that children see. I've never had to explain to a child what magic is. They'll explain it to you. Children see magic in so many simple everyday things, from blowing dandelion puffs, stepping over cracks, plucking petals on a daisy, blowing bubbles, drawing pictures on fogged up windows, talking to the moon, wishing on a star, sleeping with stuffed animals for protection. I did that. I had a whole army of stuffed animals. Jumping in puddles, collecting rocks, making wishes, believing in fantasy, fairies, Santa, elves, believing animals can talk and speaking with the animals, having imaginary friends. Do you still believe in any of these things? If you do, you're lucky. You've never lost any of the magic. And for adults, we have everyday items and practices today that have magical origins. Now, close your ears if you don't believe in magic. I have come across some people that are like, no, we don't do those things. We don't believe in magic. Okay, I gave you warning. Birthday candles. If you've ever blown out birthday candles, you have participated in a 5,000-year-old candle spell, probably the oldest known to mankind. It comes from ancient Greece, from the Temple of Artemis. The only thing is, most people, their birthday candle spells don't come true because they blow out the candle and then they go home or they throw the candles out. Always take one candle off your cake and make sure you take and relight it later and let it burn all the way down, and you'll see that your spell or your wish will come true. Jewelry, the oldest known, potentially magical jewelry, includes shell beads from about 150,000 years ago found in Morocco. The oldest explicitly symbolic gold jewelry dating to 4600 BCE at the Varna necropolis in Bulgaria. Ancient Egyptian scarab amulets from 4,000 years BCE, and early shamanic items, bone and teeth, were worn for protection. Now, if you have any plates at home, dinner plates made out of ceramic that have patterns on them, the earliest actual plates made out of pottery or shell, they weren't decorated at all. The very first ones that were decorated with patterns that were designed to keep demons away or to actually protect the food within with magical charms. Hems on clothing. At one time, clothing didn't have hems. They were created to secret things inside when traveling: spells, money, coins, special papers. People in antiquity, such as in Mesopotamia, did use the hem of their garments to hide or carry items. In the Old Babylonian period, circa 2000 to 1600 BCE, brides often had their dowries sewn into the hem of their robes, which acted as a secure personal safe. Tattoos, if you are someone that wears tattoos, the oldest direct evidence of human tattooing is found on Otzi, the Iceman, a 5,300-year-old mummy discovered in the Alps. Otzi has 61 tattoos, simple dots and lines made of carbon soot, located on his lower back, joints, and ankles. Though these marks are over 5,300 years old, they line up with lines and marks used today in modern acupuncture treatments. While no one can ever know As no written evidence was found with him, it is surmised by anthropologists and other experts that these marks likely served therapeutic, medical, and even magical purposes, possibly to relieve him of joint pain. The earliest evidence of tattoos on deities used on pregnant women appear in New Kingdom Egypt, circa 1550 to 1070 BCE at Dai al-Medina, where mummies showed sacred tattoos of the god Bes on the lower back, inner thighs, and abdomen. Some designs created in such a way as to expand as the abdomen expanded with the growth of the fetus in the mother. These were used by pregnant women to keep them and their fetus safe and protected. For childbirth was the #1 cause of death in women around the world until the mid-20th century. That's just 76 years ago. Pins. If you wear a pin in your clothing, it's thought to protect against the evil eye. In some places in the world, they still do that. And dolls. I have some friends that are huge doll collectors. They have served as sacred vessels, protective talismans, and spiritual tools for millennia, long before they were ever considered a suitable toy for a child. From ancient Egyptian, Greek, and Roman rituals to African and European folk magic, doll figures have been used to represent deities, ancestors, and to perform magic, including healing and protection. Salt has long been held as protective and vital for keeping harm and evil away, most likely due to its preservative value. Even a judge's gavel, which comes to us from the Freemasons, was originally used to seal an agreement. And like a wand, both have similar properties. Both are physical tools, handheld objects that signify the wielder is in charge and has the power to influence the environment. Both the wand and the gavel are tools used to direct energy, command attention, and finalize decisions. The wand being used in ancient times, the gavel in modern times. And this month, our band is back. So let's give a hand to November Sound.
Tell me not to go outside, there's influential few. Tell me that the world has changed, well that's what people do. I'm still me, and you're still you. Let's be in love. Stay the same, we are who we are. My wings were broken long ago, and you're my falling star. No need to change my sad biography. Reflection in the mirror that I no longer see. You're still you, and I'm still me. Tell me time to stay away, but that's so hard to do. Tell me that what might have been was never really true. I'm still me, and you're still you. Let's be in love. Stay the same, we are who we are. My wings were broken long ago, and you're my falling star. No need to change my sad biography. flashlight from top the refrigerator. I'm sure my mom and dad won't mind. Take my hand, the past so overgrown. Let the edge of the forest be our guide. The one I feel beneath the moonlight bountiful is so much more than just a summer night. I'll show you where time froze on Little Field Road. Hold me now, let's stay right here. Let the night pass us by. Time stands still, I don't know how. Let's love this world we're in right now. Long ago, two kids like us were driving down the road from her father's house. And why they stopped is still a mystery, a rusty relic in the forest now. The shadows rest in the forest now. I'll show you where time froze on Little Field Road. Hold me now, let's stay right here. Let the night pass us by. Time stands still, I don't know how. Let's love this world we're in. Eyes wide open in dark of night. It's just us, so hold me tight. Where the past and time collide. Let the night pass us by. Hold me now. Hold me now. Hold me now. Let's stay right here. Let the night pass us by. Time stands still, I don't know how. Let's love this world we're in right now.
Great, thank you very much. And those were two original songs.
Yes, they were.
Oh,
Yeah,
wonderful.
Stay the Same and Where Time Froze. Where Time Froze is my favorite song written by Bill, probably. I love all his music, but that one, the lyrics just speak to me. It's just so beautiful, and it has different meaning now that everything we've been through in our world over the last 7 years. So,
Wow.
yeah, or 6 years, like pandemic and everything. So, yeah.
Thank you
Hope you enjoyed
so
it.
much. Now, my studio guest tonight, attorney Paul Rubin from Manchester, Connecticut. Give him a hand. Thank you so much for being my guest.
You're welcome.
I've met you in the last year or two and out and about. And you recently were talking with me about your running for probate judge.
That is true. That is true.
And I automatically, I think, made the mistake of thinking, like a lot of people, that, oh, probate, that's like when people die and all of that stuff. But you were telling me that that's not the case, and I found it fascinating.
Well, it is the case, but it's more than that.
Exactly.
Right? So it certainly helps people when someone does pass away, administer the estate, go through the will, approve the distributions. It does all that, but it does a lot more. So
That's what I wasn't aware of. So if you wouldn't mind expounding on that.
I'll give you a few examples. So if you decide that you want to adopt a child, most of the time that's going to go through probate court.
Really?
And the judge will very often order a study, sometimes done by DCF, to just investigate the family, make sure everything is on the up and up, and make sure the family is appropriate to be able to adopt a child, and then the judge will make that decision. Other examples could be if you have a parent or a friend who is getting older and maybe isn't able to make decisions on their behalf or isn't able to take care of themselves, isn't able to manage their money. They need someone appointed, and if they don't have a power of attorney, which many people don't have the foresight to have, they'll need a conservator appointed, and that is something that the probate court does as well.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
I'll give you a couple more examples.
Yes, please.
If someone is having trouble with a teenager and someone decides that they want to step in and become a temporary guardian of that teenager, that goes through the probate court. And the last example is if someone is really struggling with mental health and they end up getting committed. Manchester, for example, where I'm from, has a very large psychiatric wing to the hospital. Someone has to make the decision on whether that person should be involuntarily held for a period of time. And so you, as a probate judge, you could get a call in the middle of the night, literally, and be asked to make some decisions that are very difficult decisions to make. And so that's why I say it is dealing with people who have passed, but it's a lot more than that.
So you're kind of around the clocks 24/7 for that job.
Well, I think you can be on call, for that range of time. I don't want to make it sound like you never go home to sleep and eat with your family, but there are responsibilities and there are things that happen because they're real people issues. They're issues that affect families every day.
And what kind of motivated you to, look at your job as an attorney and say, well, maybe this might be the area I want to move into?
So,
judge.
So I've been an attorney now for 35 years.
Wow.
And I've handled everything from litigation to helping people file for bankruptcy in these rough economic times to handling real estate closings. But I spent about 20 years representing children and families in DCF cases in Rockville Juvenile Court. And so I would get appointed as an attorney for indigent parents and or children in cases that might involve abuse, sexual abuse, neglect, drug or alcohol abuse. And so representing parents who had those issues, but also representing children that had those issues really resonated with me. And so my former wife and I, back in 2002, became foster parents through the state of Connecticut through DCF. And in fact, one of my daughters, who you got to meet, was adopted through DCF. She came to live with us when she was 9.
Wow.
And became adopted when she was 12. And now she's 33, has 3 sons of her own, and is a licensed foster parent in New Jersey.
Oh, that's
And so all of those things motivated me to serve the community, because community service has always been important to me.
Wow. So that's amazing. So you basically looked at this whole situation and said, not only am I going to make this part of my life, now you're moving on to work on the other side, not just representing families, but kind of protecting them in another area as a potential judge.
I think the best experience for a position as a judge is to go through it in another way, whether it's personal way like I did with my daughter and the adoption, or representing people who are struggling and going through that, because you really have to understand the people that come before you as a judge. And then of course the litigation experience and all of that, because as a judge, you do have to listen to evidence. You do have to make very difficult decisions, which are going to make at least one person unhappy.
That's a very good point. So, and this is an elected position, not appointed.
Right. So in Connecticut, there's 2 kinds of judges. The kinds that get appointed, the majority of the judges, Superior Court judges, Appellate Court judges, or Supreme Court judges. Those are also political, but political in a different way. You have to get appointed by the governor's office and then approved by the legislature. In fact, they just went through the approvals very recently in their session that I think they just closed it today, the legislative session.
Okay.
So the other kind of judge is the probate judge. I used to call them family judges, but those judges are all elected, and they're done by district. So I will be running for the Greater Manchester District, which includes Manchester, Andover, Bolton, and Columbia.
Oh, so everywhere that, this show is going to be seen. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
almost everywhere, but not everywhere. But close.
Yeah, but that's great. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness, that's wonderful. I think it's wonderful because, you have the experience, you just seem to know this whole thing. But one other thing you told me that I find really fascinating is you're a coach.
Oh my God. So
I love this.
So
to me, you are, just getting to know you in the last year or two, you radiate coach. I love that about you.
well, thank you. Thank you. I come from a family of teachers.
Really?
My mom was a teacher. My sister's a
wow.
first grade teacher.
Oh, that's
so
great.
so
Yeah.
working with children, I work with 10, 11, and 12-year-olds
Okay.
is something I love. I started
awesome.
I started coaching basketball when I was in my 20s. I was in college at Trinity.
Okay.
And when my son, who's now 33, turned 5, I started coaching t-ball. And I've been coaching this is my 40th season of coaching. And to me, it's a big part of who I am. I identify with it. I love it, and it gives me a feeling of purpose because you can really impact children at that age in a really amazing way. So the coolest thing I ever experienced while coaching was in 2021 when our Little League team in Manchester won the state championship, and we went to the Little League World Series. Did you ever hear of that? Did you ever see any of those games on TV in the summer? It's really an amazing thing.
I heard about it when you guys went.
Yeah.
It was a big thing. It was in all the papers and it was online. And that was, like you said, 2021.
Yeah, and as a volunteer coach, being on ESPN is about the coolest thing,
Very
from an ego and a
Yes.
self standpoint. It's like, you watched all the games on TV as a spectator, and to get to do that is just super cool. So,
wow.
so I've had a long career of coaching and enjoying working with the kids.
That must have been really, really awesome for them.
It was great for the kids, and I enjoyed it.
And
as well.
where did you go for that?
So the Little League World Series is held in Williamsport, Pennsylvania every year because that's where Little League was founded.
Oh, and they have it there every year.
And they have it the same location every year.
Oh, that's great. And you're still coaching them.
I'm still coaching. In fact, tonight there's a game going on without me as we tape this.
Oh, no.
That's how important you are to me,
Oh,
Faith.
boy, I hope they forgive me. I hope you guys, best of luck this year. So are they in the running for this year?
Right now, it's just the regular season. It's the regular Little League local season where we're playing within Manchester.
Okay.
And we have children from Manchester and Bolton and about 400 to 500 kids in our program.
And what are the ages, the limit of this?
So T-ball starts at 5 years old.
Oh,
and in
that's-
Manchester, Little League finishes at age 12.
Okay.
And I coach the 10, 11, and 12-year-old division, the older division.
And this is all boys or girls and boys?
Well, so we have a softball program, but sometimes girls decide they want to compete with the boys, and that's okay too.
Really?
And so I've coached numerous girls.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think that's so great.
It absolutely is.
Wow. And oh boy, I'm going to have to come. And these are just games anyone can come to?
Yeah. I mean, you know where Waddell School is in Manchester.
Yes.
We play there.
Oh,
you
wow.
probably know where Northwest Park is in Manchester.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And we play games down there and a couple other locations throughout town.
I love that. I've driven by, I've seen it, and now, now I know what's happening. Got to admit, I'm not a big, sport. Well, I shouldn't say that. I always say I'm not big into sports, but I had a career as a taekwondo martial artist and a coach myself.
Really?
Instructor.
That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, it was, and I was really honored to be able to teach kids ages 4 to 11 for a long time, and then adults. But do they ever come and seek you out as fully grown adults?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
it doesn't make you feel old at all.
Well, what I find is it's the biggest compliment because when they call me up and as a lawyer, very often, and they have problems, I think it's really cool that they still trust me after not necessarily seeing me for 10 years, 20 years.
Yeah.
I had one of those situations where
Yeah.
one of my former players is in his 20s and had an issue with a landlord, and he thought to call me,
That's
even though I
wonderful.
hadn't talked to him in a while. So that's a really nice thing to kind of have lifelong friendships.
You never think about it, but I just had someone come into the store just this last week, and he asked me, didn't you teach at Martial Arts Academy? I said, yeah, I did. And he reminded me he was one of the, we used to, for a short period of time, teach Odyssey School. And until they kind of did something else. I don't know what they do for their gym program now. And we did that, and actually reached out to my partner at the school, the Academy of Martial Arts, that we did the gym program for Odyssey. And I told him, because this young man came in and reminded me who he was, because it had been several years, ago, because he was, I think, 5th grade or 6th grade, and now he's, full adult. And he told me it was, quote unquote, the most impactful years of his life, having Taekwondo with us. And I was just like, for us as martial arts instructors, it was a different experience, because we were used to the parents coming in and the kids wanted to be there. So not so much for some of the public school kids. They really didn't like the Taekwondo so much, so it was harder. More challenging for us, but it was really an amazing experience for us, because we really had to learn, how to morph doing what we did. But it was nice to hear that. So
it can be very rewarding to realize that you had an impact, right?
I know, and you don't expect it, when they kind of seek you out. So that is so great. So, so 30 some odd years as an attorney.
35 years is my 35th year as an attorney. I started in 1991.
And is this something in your family? I mean...
well, my family actually has more of a medical background than a legal background.
Really?
Yeah, my father was a doctor, my oldest brother's a doctor, and I have teachers. So the law thing was kind of unique to me.
You're the first attorney.
I'm the first attorney in my direct line. I have cousins and so forth that are attorneys. But yeah, it was something that I never knew that I wanted to do it until. That's
what I want to know. What made you break from the family...
So I was I was a computer science major when I started college, and I realized that wasn't for me. And I had a lot of math credits, so I decided to become a math major without any idea what I was going to do with it.
Okay.
And then I walked into a Trinity College class on constitutional law with Professor Adrienne Fulco.
I love it.
And I mention her name because she's the only professor at Trinity College that I can remember their name clearly, first and last name. And that's what kind of impact she had.
Yeah.
The class was amazing. It was interactive. It was thought-provoking.
Yeah.
And I decided after probably about 2 or 3 classes that that's what I wanted to do.
Wow. And did you, I know you covered a lot of areas that you have worked in law, but did you specialize in constitutional law?
No, but there's constitutional law in everything. And I know you know that because I've seen some of your little,
constitutional chowder.
Yeah, chowder. Yeah, I've seen some of that chowder.
Yeah, it's just fun. I find it very fascinating. And as you know, it's something that every American should know or could know. You don't have to be an attorney.
Right, and my point is it's attached to law at every level.
Yes.
Because there's constitutional ramifications to just about everything.
Wow. Well, it was so great of you stopping in and spending time with us. So I'm really excited that you could be here with us.
This was so much fun.
Yeah. And I wish you all the best with your run for Probate Judge. And
thank you very much.
I hope everyone that sees this, takes in basically exercises your constitutional right to get out and vote. And if you haven't registered to vote, please do. Because there's a lot of countries in this world where you don't have that right. You don't have that privilege. You don't have that freedom. So thank you very much. And thank you for being here. It was so great.
Thank you so much.
And by all means, take one of my dad's wands. He'll be very proud to know that you have one. So,
I like this one.
Isn't that great?
Have this one?
Yes, absolutely. That's yours.
Wonderful.
So thank you.
Do I need to use it in any particular way?
No, we just use it to direct our energies. Like Edie, she wants us to wrap it up.
Okay.
But that's all right. Thank you so much. And thank you, everyone, for being here with my guest, Attorney Paul Rubin from Manchester, Connecticut. Thank you so much. All right. Now I'd like to introduce you to our famous duo, our rabbi duo, Dr. Jeremy Weiss of the Temple of Miriam the Prophetess, and our Orthodox rabbi, David McLashley, and we're going to be talking about amulets and talismans. Now, Dr. Jeremy, I've seen, and I'm going to put some pictures up here of some of the Hamsa copper rings you've made. How did you get into metallurgy?
I find amulet making very interesting. And so I just continued my studies to try to learn how to make more powerful and more effective amulets each time. And so that requires study, deeper and deeper study.
Do you actually like have a, what do you call it, to melt a no, how do you melt metal?
Oh yeah, I have both a forge for metal casting or sand casting, metal casting, and I have a laser for laser work, and I have just regular silversmithing materials.
Oh, that goes so far back in the Jewish tradition.
Tradition, yeah. I have
for thousands of years.
A little saw and a little I have a little saw, a little blowtorch, and that takes you very far.
How do a lot of people in the Jewish tradition perceive amulets today?
There's a lot of skepticism and from people.
Maybe it's just misunderstanding. I mean, I got this, from Israel.
The different view that it's not necessarily quote magic. Magic. Okay, it's magic with a K. This is not our magic. This is our religion. What are you talking about?
Like that, like Rabbi McLashley says, magic,
miracle, magic, or macaroni and cheese. We're all referring.
Yeah.
People get stuck on these ridiculous labels and semantics. They get weirded out by a word.
Yeah.
I think in terms of concepts, not in terms. Well, okay, fine. I understand faith. You might be using different terminology than I'm using, but I understand the underlying concept is the same.
Yeah, but it's also important, and I think that's what's so important about the show and our discussions, is because some people don't stop at the misunderstanding. Unfortunately, sometimes it goes farther to where, people get hurt. Or people take that misunderstanding and then they go places they shouldn't with it, by simply not understanding.
Well, people that get freaked out by Dr. Jeremy's amulets, I'd ask them, okay, fine, what faith system do you ascribe to? I don't know. If they're Catholic, put away that rosary. That's black magic.
Exactly.
Come on, guys. we're all using these things to align ourselves with our higher self, our nefesh halokis, our godly nature. Okay, whatever.
Or to give us some comfort, or to give us some
peace, or comfort, spiritual protection, what have you. We live in a physical world, and God, in our belief at least, is believable, without limit, Ein Sof, with the infinite. God doesn't have a physical form. So how do you relate to God? Well, we live in a physical world. We need physical things to relate.
We like our tools.
That occupies a prominent place.
Oh, look at this.
One of the things that Dr. Jeremy made this here, which is a work of art.
Yeah,
it's called the Tahdidi dagger. And Moroccan Jews use it to remove spiritual impurity, tuma, from their homes. And,
Oh, nice. We call that anathema. You call it a tassi.
I was thinking of the thumb, the same basic. It says in Pirkei Avot, Ezehu Chacham, who's the wise person, Lomed B'Kol Adam, he who learns from everyone.
That's right.
And once we realize that, we say B'Zman HaMashiach, in the Messianic era, Lo Yisagoyel Goy Cherev, that nation will not wage war against nation. And I'm thinking to myself, the reason for so much bigotry and prejudice and intolerance in this world is because we get hung up on labels.
Yeah.
We get hung up on labels. We're fighting over labels. Well, and I'm saying to myself, if you pop the surface and look underneath, we're most of us are all striving for the same thing.
We are. I mean, I do think that it's important that people, we have names, for a reason, because we want to be seen. People, identity is important, but you're right. People go a little bit far with labeling others. I tell people, label yourself. Label yourself and feel comfortable with who you are, but don't let anybody else label you.
What kind of world do you want to live in? You want to live in a compassionate world? You want to live in a world where people aren't going to be judging you or pointing fingers at you or criticizing you or condemning you for who you are, what you are? Well, you know what? Bishvili Nevralam, for my sake was the world created. What I send out is what I'm going to get back.
And let me ask Dr. Jeremy this. Your amulets that you make, how do they help people? Someone watching this that's like, wow, this is kind of interesting, but I don't know anything about an amulet. We're going to show some of them that you have that are available at the Temple of Miriam .com shop. If they go there and they're looking at these, how can they help someone?
Most amulets are there really to, I think, to focus the energy of the person who is holding on to the amulet or wearing the amulet or in possession of the amulet. Although there are amulets that are supposed to work not for the person who's in possession of the amulet actually, but for other people. So that's an interesting concept as well.
Like you could hold it and, to keep you, maybe if somebody is sick or
someone else, yes, but yeah, that's right.
Beautiful. Okay. All right. So basically all positive stuff.
Yeah, and to block out negative vibes from people, vibes being the word of choice that people seem to understand the best colloquially, right?
Yes.
Negative energies, to block out negative energies and to attract good energy. And how they work, if they work, I don't know the answer to that. I know that people have been using them for a very, very, very long time. And,
Yes.
a lot of people say, well, that's just old wives' tales, which is such a derogatory
Right.
phrase. I hate that phrase so much.
I know, I'm an old wife.
I'm sure the old wives don't like it
It's such a terrible, isn't it a terrible phrase? It's such a terrible phrase. It's so.
Can you show that pendant you had, because that was before we started?
Sure. This can you see it?
Yeah.
I don't know if I can get it
Perfect.
close enough to them.
Yes.
All right. This is the Lilith amulet, a protective amulet against Lilith, who is.
So you would wear that to keep the energies of Lilith away from you.
To keep Lilith away from you or your baby or your child, because mostly this and also to keep your confinement safe, right? If you're in pregnancy, to keep yourself safe during pregnancy, so that you don't lose the baby.
That's like the Sheila Negi.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so
That's
it's
beautiful.
I recognize that term, Sheila the Neeg. Yeah. I recognize that term.
She's on churches in Ireland. Yeah.
Yes.
Very ancient figure, but
this is a very unusual amulet against Lilith in that it's from Iran. It originated in Iran, and what's unusual is that it actually depicts Lilith. Most amulets against Lilith do not actually show Lilith, and this is an interesting amulet because it's one of the only ones, a handful that I've ever seen, that actually depict Lilith, and you can see that she's contained by words, the 42 letters of God, 42 names of God, or 42 letters of God, if you want to call it the 42 letter name. And she's got three little horns on her chin, which kind of make her look like she has a beard. And you can see there's a cup of water, of wine next to her, and there is also a little droplet of water next to her. Just exactly
wine and water.
Exactly like what we were talking about earlier. Exactly.
With the Elohim,
the cup of Miriam and the cup of Elijah.
And that was law and mercy.
Yeah, exactly.
And Dr. Jeremy's actually a maven. I mean, you go back to the source material.
Yeah.
He really researches that these are actual this isn't just stuff that he makes up out of his head. I mean, this is stuff that really, what he does is really in accordance with the traditional sources. And, my personal spin on it, I don't say that the kamea, the amulet, or a stone or a herb has any inherent power. The power comes from God.
Yeah.
The power comes from God and God alone.
Yeah.
Okay. But that being said, we live in a physical world. This is a way of focusing our kavana, our intent. This is a way of focusing it to, that I'm saying, hey, you know what? The power comes from God.
Yes.
And this is I'm just using this as to make what they call a keli, like a vessel in the physical world, that the energy, the energy that is God flows through it. And, that's it. Much like the staff that Moshe Rabbeinu used to heal the snake bites. It wasn't the staff that's doing it. No. It's HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's the Rabbanu Shalom. It's the Eibishter. It's Hashem. But, we live in a physical world. We use physical objects to implement or to manifest the divine magic, miracle, or macaroni and cheese.
I love it. Now, Dr. Jeremy, did you choose that one? Because when I saw it and you explained it to me, it reminded me of one of your classes that I take Parsha every single Tuesday night, Kabbalistic Parsha. If you're interested, you can too. It's awesome. I remember one class we were doing, getting rid of demons or negative stuff, how you name the demon.
Yeah.
But it was interesting because you were like, you don't normally see amulets with Lilith on them.
Mm-hmm.
By having her image, it's almost like naming it.
Yeah, you don't normally see, usually she is just referred to on the amulet.
Okay.
And usually the amulet contains the names of 3 angels that she has promised to, if she ever sees the names of these 3 angels, she will leave the baby or the victim alone. So usually the amulets have the names Sinoi, Semengalav, and Sansanoi on them. Those are the 3 angelic names, Sinoi, Sansanoi, and Semengalav. And and you see those names, but you just never see a picture of Lilith. So that's I think
perfect.
Cool.
Yeah, I love it. So I want to again thank you for being here. So I'm going to give you guys a hand. Thank you so much.
And just mention one final thing.
Oh, yes.
Dr. Jeremy's readings and my readings, what we do.
Dr. Jeremy, he turned himself around. There we go. Yes, let me talk
and
about
Dr. Jeremy's great at it. I'm just
Jeremy, what type
an
of readings
endorsement
do
for
you
someone
do,
who's done it his entire life. Dr. Jeremy is emet, top notch at this. So
what kind of readings do you do, Dr. Jeremy?
Aside from the usual tarot readings, my specialty is really doing bibliomancy, which is usually a sortilege process in combination with using a book. And the book that I like to use helps me get in contact with the 7 prophetesses of the Bible, and they usually are able to direct me to an answer from the 5 books of Moses, right? The Torah. That will answer the querent's question. That's the one that I like to do. Now, Rabbi McLashley is an extreme expert in Kabbalistic tarot readings, and I like to defer to his readings. Are fantastic. So
now, can anyone watching get a hold of either one of you to get a reading by contacting you at the templeofmiriam.com?
Absolutely. Templeofmiriam.com. You just go there. You can select myself or Rabbi McLashley and book a reading with either of us.
Excellent. Thank you.
He's a good one.
He's a good one. Excellent. You're both excellent. I know this. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Faye.
Thank you. All right.
Thanks for having us.
All right. And that was Dr. Jeremy Weiss and Rabbi McLashley. Give him a hand. That was amazing. Thank you so much, guys. Love having you on. And as it's June, it is also Pride Month, and we have for the first time a Pride Festival in Manchester, Connecticut. Sponsored by the North United Methodist Church, it will be held on June 13th and 14th. There's going to be entertainment, speakers, social resources, food trucks, and so much more. Co-sponsored by Unitarian Universalist Society East, Beth Shalom B'nai Israel Synagogue, the town of Manchester, and right here we have an entire list of all our participants, sponsors, speakers, and everyone in our community that are going to be participating and supporting this event. So there's no entrance fee, family friendly. Come on down and support in any way you can this amazing event for our Pride community. Thank you. Enchantment's just celebrated 22 years. If you'd like to find out more about me or Enchantments, check out my new website, enchantmentsct.com. Or if you have any questions or comments, please email me at enchantmentsct@gmail.com. Is it your dream to be on television, to have your own TV show? So how do you do it? Contact the public access television studio in your town and have a concept, get some friends together, and they will help you make your dream a reality. I want to thank everyone on our crew at CVC, the band November Sound, our guest, Paul Rubin, and as the great John Lennon said, peace is not something you wish for, it's something you make. Let us keep praying for peace in the Middle East, peace around the world, and peace right here at home. And for my people in Ukraine, Slava Ukraini, America Vizami. Thank you for watching. Be safe. Have a beautiful rest of your night. Peace.